Last time, I discussed Grun, Sockpop's first horror title, and their most ambitious. Similarly, today, I'm here to talk about another developer going in a similar direction, but if the genres were swapped. Bubby Darkstar is the solo developer that made Subway Midnight back in 2021. A creepy but visually intriguing romp through a morose but maybe non-malevolent metro. Sometimes macabre, and sometimes it was really f***ing loud. But it was a fun ride regardless. It mixed 2D hand-drawn characters with more abstract, vibrant, and even serene 3D environments, like a playable Cartoon Network city bumper, but if it was set on the Infinity Train. It's not fair. And even 3 years later, Subway Midnight is still regarded as a cult classic among smaller internet circles. And in 2023, when Bubby mentioned they're starting work on a new game, I definitely wouldn't expect Shooty Shooty RobotIncasion to be their next game. From spooky walking simulator to a non-linear level-based shooter. And this isn't a 2-hour jog, but a full game with combat and a story that bluntly hits kinda close to home. It might come as a surprise that despite the shift in genre, this game can still be equally as surreal, which is kind of insane seeing the ambitious scale on display, but hey, that's Bubby's art style for you. Before I get ahead of myself, let's start from the top. Modern day, Cala, Florida. Hearing that name is already pretty horrifying, but we have bigger problems. A robot invasion is in full swing. Where did they come from? A secret underground cabal? Aliens from the moon? Well, nobody knows, but it's up to the band of mercenaries known as Fork, Force of Robot Killers, to stop the robots and help any civilians along the way. Classic G.I. Joe things. We play as ex-military Hannah, sometimes Hannah, codename Shooty. Despite this being a team effort, we're basically doing most of the heavy lifting. She's an underachiever, and underappreciated. She's just like me, for real. To help us on our journey, we're outfitted with an unlimited amount of robot-killing bullets. That statement alone should tell you what kind of game this is. After that intro, we're kicked out of our apartment, and the game begins. I remember calling Fight Night a playable comic book, but I think that fits Shooty Shooty even better. All the characters are flat images, like Subway Midnight, from the robots to the people, but presentation-wise, the people this time have way more going on. I love how much personality is on display. Everyone is way more exaggerated compared to Subway Midnight. Wide eyes and wider mouths, with weird body shapes, and my favorite, the ever-present anger vein. They even react if robots get too close to them. If it wasn't for the little mission icon above their heads, it would be hard to pick out important NPCs from the crowd in a good way. Most of the NPCs with dialogue don't even have mission significance either, and those that do even have dialogue before they're important. And yeah, I know there are a ton of repeat mob designs for the civilians, but you got some weird looking people in this game, and this lady's face cracks me up. I even like how in the cutscenes, the art was only ever meant to fit in frame, so when they move around you can see where the things cut off. But what about the robots themselves? Just like the residents of America, the robot invaders are pretty diverse. We got regular robots, evil radios, angels, devils, QTE robot cowboys, and the Cube. The robot army brings so much charm that even the mass-produced ones are memorable. Like you're fighting them in the first level, and because they jump around so much, you'll be exploding the trash in these alleyways like it's a John Woo action flick. The whole level feels utilized for all these fun little interactions. Man, the first level is such a visual treat. There is another thing that I wanted to bring up. Unlike Subway Midnight, people actually talk here. And for a lack of a better term, the writing is direct. There are people that see dialogue with too many swears and they just assume it's made by VivziePop or something. I can understand the sentiment, but you never get the sense that it's doing it for the sake of vulgarity or trying too hard to be edgy. It's just blunt. Everything is conveyed in a very matter-of-fact way. Kinda like the whole premise itself, really. Signs are misspelled, the missing posters are all tongue-in-cheek, and if you're just picking out how many times they say in the dialogue, I think you're not seeing the forest for the trees. The game's commitment to its own absurdity is what makes everything so charming. Like when I first got to the pier on the Ferris wheel and it said "stupid idiot wheel," I could only laugh because, yeah, that tracks. I actually reached out to Bubby and asked about the whole shift in genres, and simply put, this is the story they wanted to tell. Even if Bubby did return to Subway Midnight, it probably wouldn't be a pure horror game. Compared to Subway Midnight, this is Bubby putting their whole personality into this game, and the world's just like this because why not? It's over the top, but it's played completely straight. It's written to be comedic, but the characters aren't in on the joke. They just live here. It's not Penguin of Doom or anything. If they looked to the camera and called out how wacky everything was, then that would be the same as the writer laughing at their own joke. We can laugh because the world isn't doing it for us. And while we're here, I'd say that the laid-back feel in the writing and world building also extends to the game's sound as well. Starting with the sounds, I swear some of these were also in Subway Midnight, specifically when things explode. But what I wanted to focus on was the mixing. I really don't mind chunky sounds in games, but that hurt noise is kinda grating. Maybe it's just the way the noise hits my ear. It's like a Q-tip is brushing a little too deep inside my ear canal, and the fact that there's no option to lower the sounds or music on the main menu. Here's the thing about using similar sounds for different games. In Subway Midnight it was less of an issue due to the slower pace, and the fact that it only gave me tinnitus once. But here, while in combat, it really is just noise. And sometimes when the game wants to highlight a gag or some other moment, the sounds are just mixed way too high. The regular sound for movement and shooting are so quiet when paired with the music, and then you just get blasted. It's like your house is right next to a main road. You'll just hear the sounds of cars passing by and it's not a big deal. And then that one guy who removed his car's muffler just absolutely guns it past your house. This is way more prevalent in the earlier levels, but it's still annoying. Oh, and I don't know where to put this, but one time I got sandwiched against a wall and then... This also kinda happened in Subway Midnight actually, but to be fair this only happened once so I'm not holding it against the game. On the other hand, I love the different talking sounds everyone gets. Most people get the normal blip sounds when talking, but I love how some of the robots and even some people sound. It really fits with the whole look of everything. The people here are sometimes appealing and endearing, but they can be really nasty and unsettling too. It's abrasive in a good way, because it doesn't hurt to listen to. For the most part, many of the songs and sounds in this game are actually pretty low-key, despite there even being variations to the music that change depending on whether or not you're in combat. Aside from bosses, there's no real sense of urgency with any of the music. I'd describe it as airy or ethereal, and it's even so slightly muffled. It's the kind of chill music you'd hear walking around the mall. It's like the world itself is indifferent about the robot invasion, but more on that later. Let's discuss combat. You have some interesting ways of getting around. Pressing shift or right click has Shooty dash in a direction that you're holding, but keep pressing the button down and she'll run, which can be good to traverse the levels, but you also have a melee attack baked into your kit. It's not just a typical press V to swing kind of deal. If you run into an enemy, or if you jump twice, you'll cock your fist and swing at anything you make contact with, launching them a good deal backward. It's pretty satisfying to do an air-to-air with a robot, and then as they bounce off a wall, you shoot them in the air like it's some sort of character action game. If you run, it'll only proc on robots, but if you press jump twice near a wall, you'll shoot up vertically, giving you a movement option if you're cornered. And both the dash and air lunge have iframes, so you can be pretty aggressive and just eat a bunch of hits. You even clamber if your jump makes contact with the edge of a platform, letting you navigate with ease. But what's more interesting is that the dash mentioned earlier can be used in the air, an infinite amount of times. It's kinda jank looking as you jerk around, and there aren't too many areas in the game that test your movement, but it's fun to do, and you get some good airtime. It all comes together to make some pretty fun movement, in and out of combat. Also, in the second level you can do this weird melee cancel thing, where you shoot during the hit stop of your melee, making it an unintentional combo weapon. This cements the shotgun as the coolest gun in the game. But what about your guns? Well, after me glazing the movement, you might be disappointed to hear that the gunplay is really bland. I didn't mind it in the first level, because it felt kinda funny that the upgrade to your guns was just getting another gun, but I really wish that gimmick stayed with the later levels, or there was something more going on with the arsenal. Shooty's loadout doesn't stay consistent for every level, which is ironic because most of the guns feel like repeats. The machine pistols feel like the assault rifle, and the dual revolvers feel like the dual pistols. No explosives, no weird science fiction lasers. Despite the sci-fi themes, all of your guns feel pretty grounded. And for how varied the robots can get, and shooting is at least 40% of this game's runtime, I wish actually shooting my guns was a bit more interesting. It got to the point where I thought the reason the bosses kept using the gimmick of circling ball torture was because it would be subverted with a gun that just ignored the fight entirely early or something. Now I understand that maybe this was the intent. To quote that one TikTok I found on Bubby's page, it's a shooter game for people that don't normally play shooters, and a good chunk of the encounters don't actually focus on combat at all. They serve as moments for character building, or just simply to make a gag. And hey, if that's the point, then sure, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just upset that you don't get to keep the shotgun. It's really not a huge issue because if you're playing Shooty Shooty, you're probably gonna stay for the story anyway. Don't come in expecting a Twitch shooter. Come here for a good time. This is mainly why I enjoyed the first 2 levels so much, because even when you're not shooting, you're doing other things that keep the gameplay interesting. There's so many little interactive things to do, and the first level has more of an emphasis on verticality. That, yeah, eventually does end in shooting robots, but it usually involves an amusing vignette sprinkled here and there. I may be bad at volleyball, but I'm good at shooting. And the coolest thing was that the boss of the first level has the whole area open up for the arena. Yeah, you're clearly not meant to fight in these enclosed spaces, and seeing how the robots interact with variable terrain, I can understand why in the later levels the arenas get reduced to being combat cubes, but man, it made the whole fight feel grander. And after getting an appetite for it in the first level, makes me wish I could climb more things, I guess, just like how most people want to climb onto Parkour Girl. Oh, also this game's kinda buggy. Ignoring the one I mentioned earlier, there's nothing too insane. I've had my few share of softlocks on the second level if you try to play the card minigame too quickly, or in the fourth level if you defeat a boss but don't hit them with your third swing, you make them effectively immortal. Oh, and I don't know if this is a bug. If you really wanted to, in the second level you could just keep stealing credits from this one guy if you reload your checkpoints. The act of getting credits is easy enough with all the games on this floor, but like if you really wanted to, you could just say F this guy in particular. Now, like always, it's time to talk about the story. To describe it briefly, it made me feel like that guy describing Squidward's house attacking the city, but I was way more interested in seeing how everything was connected, and what the robots were after. If you want to skip the spoilers, then go to here. Even in the first level, it's apparent there's more to this robot invasion than meets the eye. Despite them attacking Shooty specifically, to the general public they just seem like mild annoyances at most. To the robots not fighting us, most of them are just working. They kinda suck at everything they do, but they're everywhere. Well, as it turns out, they belong to the company Vaporsoft, run by their CEO, Valerie Vapor. She seems like a disillusioned roboticist that is fueled solely by profits and Paul Roger, a promising mechanist in her youth, but on her road to success, she burned all her bridges. In nature, most bright colors are the signs of danger, and Valerie is too dangerous to be left alive. So, after a round or two in the public toilet, we booze up and get into position. But right as you're about to pull the trigger, your team chimes in saying your target is actually one of the investors. Now it's the guy who designed the software? They didn't discuss this beforehand? Like always, we're on our own. And now it's time to assassinate a CEO. There's like a joke in here somewhere. Oh, okay, well that didn't work. Hey, what's the rest of our team doing? Half of our guys were on comms, but we had like 2 others with us. And what is Mercy doing here? Can we talk about our team? As a unit, Fork just kinda sucks. Yeah, Shooty feels like she needs to prove herself a lot and bungles a few times, but 1, she's one of the only members that actually does her job, and 2, the only other competent member of the team just defected to Valerie. Cappy at least gave us his pants, and Doc gave us a health upgrade one time. Engie made something that actively tried to kill us, and Compy, ooh. What did you do, Compy? You went to the doctor's office and you played video poker. The whole losing the arm thing? No, that's on you. Given that we've been fighting killer appliances and murderous robots, whose first instinct on seeing a giant slot machine is to sit on it? Where's the robot, Compy? Moving on. The prison section is a bit long in the tooth because it's exposition time. After we get our eyes stolen, we learn more about Shooty, bad upbringing, and the only good family members died in horrible accidents. And after almost getting killed by the cube world boxes of all things, Shooty gets some quality time with her dead brother. I like that despite the rough childhood, Shooty doesn't hold anything against her brother. He didn't do anything wrong. Things just sucked at home. Shooty decides to stay in the world of the living because despite it all, she has a mission to do. So with the help of the former president, he's not that important, we stage a riot. Shooty contacts the remaining members of Fork, and we make our escape. Next stop, Vaporware HQ. Now, talking about Valerie's motivation, her plan seems to spread her servant bots, all named Gus, all over the continent. To do what? Why is she replacing general laborers and, well, every other job with barely functional robots? Well, if you saw the trailer or opened the game even once, you'll probably see that the game's subject matter isn't exactly subtle. But it wasn't always like this. Going back to Bubby Darkstar, this current level at Vaporsoft was actually redone in part due to some personal circumstances that involve being let go due to the company adopting AI. I don't even have a joke here, that just sucks. So we follow Valerie Vapor to her secret base on the moon in order to stop her for good. Only after severing her command over her robot army do things start to go south. And fast. Apparently, Valerie was the only thing stopping her servants from being the murderous robots we originally thought they were, killing people in droves while we're stuck here on the moon. Did we just make things worse? Only here, while the world is under attack, again, does Valerie explain herself. Even though the robot invasion takes center stage, it's clear that there's something bubbling beneath the surface. A mysterious group is observing the human race from the shadows. The aliens plan to invade. There are actually a decent amount of secrets hiding in plain sight through most of these levels, with some being more obvious than others. So how does Valerie fit into this? In her childhood, after winning Evo with a robot, she gets approached by who else? One of the aliens. Impressed by her technological achievements, she gets kidnapped. Was she scouted for her talents? Did they want to trade technology? Or is this some kind of weird alien exchange program kind of deal? I didn't know what to expect, but it wasn't this. Valerie's motivation, her eagerness to expand her robot empire, her apathy towards everything and everyone, even while the robots are named Gus. Everything up until this point has been a strange but endearing dark comedy, but now it's just horrifying. Is it weird that I like this change? This is the shot in the arm that the end of the game needed. The stakes are so much higher. And that brings us to now. Right. Even with the alien threat coming eventually, right now we have an army of killer robots all over Earth. And without control over her robots, the digital clones of Gus don't feel too happy about being trapped inside their own bodies for years on end. And to thank Valerie, they recreate the end of Drakengard. We don't have time to think about the aliens. Our only hope is to make it back to the Earth and possibly stop the robots again. But before we touch down, Gus decides to use a sacrificial EMP that will take down all the robots, but unknowingly collapse the rest of human society. We did it, men. I'm honestly surprised that this is still going. Society has sprung back in a Fallout 2 kind of way. Mutants, raiders, and Copy is now a giant lizard. And despite living in the post-apocalypse, all's well that ends well, right? Oh wait, but what about the aliens?
That's it?
Now you think the next bit of gameplay would be Fork staring down an alien invasion, but no, the game just ends. No end of reach situation, no last secret fight to cap off the game. This game ends so abruptly that I genuinely thought something was wrong, but no, that's just it. Game ends, no credits, back to the main menu with you. This was one of the first things I asked Bubby about, because there was no way the game just leaves you high and dry for no reason. Like most things with this game, there's a bit more to the story. This was actually supposed to be a sequel hook, and Bubby didn't allude to anything like adding a question mark or having a gag with the end card because that would be too on the nose. But with how the secret ending just limply ends, I feel like you could have made things a bit more obvious. But hey, if this game does better than what it's currently doing, Bubby might continue this story. So there's that. I really hope this doesn't turn into another Mega Man Legends kind of deal. That would be bleak. Man, what a ride. I definitely didn't know what was going to happen going in, and while I think the game is a bit long in the tooth, I liked it for what it was. A quirky, narrative-focused FPS that's a bit rough around the edges. If you're interested, I'd say this game is worth it, because I got some good laughs from the dialogue and just interacting with everyone in general. If nothing else, I'd recommend looking up the OST, because there's some good tracks in here. I hope to see more of Bubby Darkstar's work, because their art is just really fun to look at, and I want to see more of this story. And that's it for me. Stay tuned next time for the Casting Couch game, now with co-op. Take care of yourselves, and see you next time.